Good morning. My name's William. This is my wife, Shelly. This is Aurora right here. She's our little fur baby. Basically, we're doing a video. We bought a bus a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now. And since we have been doing the build, we've had a bunch of questions. Why a bus? Blah, 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 blah. So, I guess we'll go through our notes here of some of the questions and hopefully we can answer them for you. So
first one is, why buy a bus?
Yeah, why buy a bus? Well, with everything that's going on, we had other plans. We sold our house last year and we were supposed to be in Europe come this August for months and then traveling some more outside the country, but obviously with the virus and we're not being able to travel, we decided let's buy a school bus and convert it so that way we can still travel around the U.S. doing all the sports we do and activities and whatnot. So,
and also buying a bus allows us to take Aurora with us everywhere. Otherwise, we were hiring a dog sitter, each time we went away, which obviously costed money. And, Aurora wants to be with us and we want her to be with us as well.
Yeah, so it was pretty simple decision. So now we're in a time crunch, unfortunately, to get this done before the end of August, which is middle of July now. So
we're in an apartment right now, so the lease is up at August 31st.
Yeah. So one of the questions is why did we buy a bus over a RV or a fifth wheel trailer or something like that? So honestly, we had looked at a bunch of fifth wheel toy hauler trailers. We looked at some RVs, and I've had RVs of all different types growing up and for the last 20 years. And the one thing about them is you don't know how they're built. You don't know where anything is. So one of the big issues we've always had was the roofs going bad on them, leaks. So when something goes wrong, you got to take it to a shop. So at least with the bus, you know that one, you have a steel skin, so it's a much better shell than the outside of your typical RVs. Two, way cheaper. And since you're building it out, if you have any problems with it, you know exactly where to go, whether it's electrical, whether it's plumbing. So keep things simple and keep the cost down as well. And so that's kind of was our thought behind it. We didn't need the pull-outs or anything like that for extra space. I think it's plenty after we build it out and how we have it laid out. So that's why a school bus.
And you could customize it the way you want it, for your needs and your likings, rather than going in and having something already kind of pre-made and saying, oh, I guess this part will do because I really like this part and not this, but I'll compromise and just deal with it. This way you can actually customize it the way you really, really want it and really like it.
Next question.
Why this specific bus?
Oh, yeah. So if any of you have been looking at school buses, you know there is hundreds of different types of school buses. And if you're like myself and my wife, it's pretty overwhelming. I mean, you got buses that have noses on them. You got buses that are flat. You got buses that have rear engines. You got buses that have flat with front engines that have this big cowl cover covering the engine inside the bus.
High ceiling, low ceiling.
Yeah, high ceiling, low ceiling. You have
wide entrance, small entrance.
Yeah, you have boxes on the outside already for storage. You have how the bus is put together. Is it put together with rivets on the inside or put together with screws?
And I like to say when we first started looking, everything just seemed, it was all like. So it was really, starting to say, what do you really want? So as you start to go and you're looking through, you're like, oh, wait, that other bus had this and that other bus had that. So then you start to realize all the differences between them, because at first it's kind of overwhelming and it's just, So.
Yeah, so the reasons we went with this bus, one was we obviously want to find something that had a certain transmission, a certain engine, as well as trying to keep the miles down. And obviously we all are worried about the price of the bus. So We found an International, a 2006. The engine we were looking for was the DT466. The reason for that engine was pretty simple. They're really easy to work on. They're cheap to fix in comparison to some of the other Cat engines and the Cummins. So we found a really good bus with a good engine. We had the Allison transmission, which we wanted with the proper gearing that we wanted. Obviously, if you guys know from watching other videos, there's a few different gearings that you can get on the transmission. Some are really lower gearing, so it's not as high speed. Some have a middle speed, and then obviously a higher gearing, which will allow your bus to run at lower RPMs. So if you plan on driving a lot on the highways, obviously you're going to want that higher RPMs, lower RPMs, so that way you get better fuel economy. The other reason we went with this bus is the rust. I mean, any rust that we had underneath was surface rust, and there was very little of that. We were really stoked when we got the floors out that it was very light surface rust from just some moisture that was underneath the subflooring. The stairs had a little bit light surface rust. We looked at the engine, looked at the transmission components, and again, just very light surface rust. So that was a very key component to us. Because you didn't want something with heavy rust, because we want to start with something that was going to be less money put in to restore that. So
must work.
Yeah, so that was one of the keys. The other key was that we found that if you look at the entrance of the bus, this one has a much wider entrance compared to some of the other ones. We also, having the nose on the front of the bus, allowed us to go straight in and not have that big cover in the front if you had a flat nose bus with a front engine. So this was quite a bit wider than some of the other buses that we had looked at. So that was definitely key to us as far as what we wanted. We wanted to still feel like we were walking in to a nice home when we're done with it, and not like this little corridor or whatnot that you wanted. The other factor was the ceiling height. So I'm 6'1", 6'2", and some of the buses are just right at like 73 inches or so. And so for us, we wanted the as much ceiling space that we could get. So this one was 77.5, 78 inches, which can obviously differ a little bit too, because you got to understand what the subflooring is. Some buses have a layer of plywood already with their little rubber floor mats and stuff in it. Ours was basically the rubber floor mat on top of the metal. So we already had a little bit taller. I think it came out to 78.5 inches because we didn't have that layer of plywood already down. So that was key, because obviously when you build out the bus and you put in the new subflooring, if you're going to insulate the floor, the ceiling, all those things, you're going to lose 2 inches, maybe a little more. So you want to make sure that you have that. If that height is a problem for you, then that's definitely going to be something you want to look at. The other thing was the inside of the bus. How was it built? You have rivets that hold on the inner skin, and you have screws. If you've ever taken rivets out of anything, you know they can be quite the pain in the butt to deal with. So we were lucky. This had all screws on the inside, and it was great. Most of them came right out with just an impact driver, and very few that we had to actually cut off. So that was definitely a plus. The other thing, we were looking for a certain length of the school bus, because obviously with all our sporting equipment, with all our skydiving wings, paragliding stuff, snowboarding, bikes, we wanted to make sure that we had enough to allow a garage space, which you'll see in our build, and still enough living space for us to feel comfortable and like we're not cramped in there. So this is going to be a full-time living thing. So we had looked at some of the short buses, and we just realized that with a short bus, we just weren't going to be able to get everything that we wanted inside the bus. So this one, I believe, is just right under 40 feet from front to back. So it's still can't get into some of the national parks and stuff if that's one of your things that you want to do. There's some places that have restrictions, but you know, you can still, you know, pull outside if you have a car you're towing, or we're gonna put a scooter on the back or a dirt bike or something that we can ride into the parks for the day, or park outside and hike in. You know, obviously the longer bus makes it a little harder if you're going into the cities and stuff like that, but we don't plan on really going into the big city areas. So for us, it worked out really good. The other thing that we want to look at was tires. Tires can cost you $500 a set. You know, so if you can, if you're looking on trying not to spend as much money off the rip, try to find, you know, a bus that has really good tires on it, which we did. Almost all the tires. It's going to be a while before we put new tires on the bus. Mileage, you know, the buses are really taking care of it at schools. So you can do some research, find where the bus came from, what district. So obviously you can see, you know, what type of district, you know, they are. But for the most part, they have a certain standard, certain checklist that they have to do on these buses to maintain them. And so we felt pretty comfortable that the bus was maintained very, very well. The fluids were all clean when we looked at them. The oils, I mean, it looked pretty immaculate. And we found a bus that only had 100,000 miles on it, which if you guys have ever been around diesel engines, these things are made to go and go as long as you take care of them and change the oil and do the maintenance that you're supposed to do on them. So we really lucked out. We got a great deal on the bus. And we're pretty happy with it. So,
and this is much cheaper than buying an RV.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, we're having to put work into it, but it's also kind of fun work because, you know, you're designing it and you get to see the progress of everything.
One of the other questions that we've been getting a lot on our Instagram page and Facebook is, where did we buy the bus? Well, started looking online, and if you just go to Google and school bus for sale, I mean, you're going to come up with places all over the country. There was Midwest Transit up in Ohio area. There was a place in Indiana. There was a place in California, Texas, Florida. Obviously, being here in Florida, we want to try to find one close. Now, obviously, if we found a really, really great deal, it'd be worth either having it shipped or driving it down. But now there's a cost of your time and gas and transportation to have it shipped from somewhere else. But we were really trying to focus on here in Florida. If not Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, just for the simple fact it was away from snow and ice, so therefore you should have a lot less rust underneath the bus and on the floors and everything else. So we went online to start, and then we found a place here in Tampa, Tampa Bay Bus Market. They had over like 300 buses. You name it, they had it. So really good selection. Their website wasn't that great as far as all the inventory they had and the pictures and whatnot. So we went there. The owner of the place has been doing this for 35 years, and he buys them directly from the schools or auctions. So that's how we went about it. We thought about going to the auctions, but again, we were in this time crunch, and so we didn't really have that option to us. So for those of you who are thinking about it, definitely take your time, definitely do your research. If you're in Florida, it's definitely worth making a drive up to the Tampa area to look at his selection, because you get to compare multiple models to one another. But again, not to say you can't find something nice in Ohio or Pennsylvania or other places around. So, but do your due diligence. It'll be well worth it in the end. So that's how we went about finding it. We're doing the video just, again...
just to help other people out, and, you know, help people realize that, you know, you don't have to spend $1,500, $3,000 a month to stay somewhere and be comfortable. You know, I'm really looking forward to this. We're going tiny.
Yeah. I mean, I came from a huge home, and then we moved into her place, and it was smaller, and then we sold that place and moved into an apartment, a little 2-bedroom 2-bath, so 1,000 square feet, but which is still quite a bit bigger than the bus. But again, for us, we were paying a rent for a place that we were only in 5-6 months out of the year, because the rest of the time we were traveling for our sports. So for us, it was an empty place that, again, we were paying and we didn't need it. So at least this way, even if we decide that we're gonna once everything opens back up and we can travel to Europe or whatever, we can always leave this at my parents' house or her parents' house or at a friend's lot. So it makes it a little bit easier and feasible that at least we're not paying on something that we're not even using. And again, obviously taking Aurora with us everywhere. And just those things. So the video, we're going to have a whole video, a build series. We're going to try to make it as layman terms as we can. If any of you are like me, I'm used to building a lot of things and been in construction my whole life, but there's still a lot of things that sometimes you watch some of these videos and they don't really explain very well. So it's still, especially when it comes to solar, when it comes to electrical, just even the steps that they do breaking down the bus. So we hope to do a good job with that, and you'll be able to find us on our Instagram page, which is Team Ultimate Exposure. Our Facebook page again is Team Ultimate Exposure. We also have our YouTube channel, which is I believe it's Team Ultimate Exposure.
It is. It's all Team Ultimate.
William and Bug is what it is, or maybe it's Will and Shells at Gmail. I don't know. We'll figure that one out. But you'll be able to see all our videos. We'll be posting them on Instagram. And if you have any questions or any thoughts, please, we'll try to answer all your questions as soon as we can.
Especially any Skoolies that are already out there who've already done this. If you have any suggestions or recommendations, we'll take those as well.
Yeah, there's some really great videos to watch. Navigation Nowhere, Going Boundless, just to name a few, man. There's some really good people out there that have done some really good projects. There's some really good ones on solar. I don't got them right off the top of my head. Trust me, I've been watching video after video. Like every day, my head is like ready to explode. So definitely watch all the videos you can, because everybody has good ideas, and you can take something from everything, then maybe change it.
Yeah, so thank you for all those Skoolies out there already that we've already researched and followed your YouTubes, and it's helping out quite a bit. Yeah,
so if you like the video, please like, subscribe, again, follow us on Instagram, and you'll see all our adventures and everything else, and more to come. But thank you again, and we will answer anything you guys have.
Okay, till next time.